The game just broke wrestling. After 25 years of building an empire, after surviving wars with The Rock, Stone Cold, and Shawn Michaels, Triple H stood in that ring on Monday Night Raw and did something nobody saw coming. The crowd went silent. Jaws dropped. And in that moment, everything we thought we knew about WWE's future shattered. What you're about to witness isn't just another episode breakdown. This is the night a champion's dream died, a legacy crumbled, and Triple H proved that sometimes the hardest decisions are the ones that hurt the most. Stick with me until the end because what happened in those final moments, I'm still trying to process it myself. Before we dive into the chaos, real talk for a second. If you love wrestling, if you live for these moments that make you jump out of your seat, then you're already part of something special here at SLAMZONE. But here's the thing, we're building more than a channel. We're building a family. A community of people who get it. Who understand that wrestling isn't just entertainment, it's emotion, it's storytelling, it's life happening right there in that squared circle. So if you feel that, if you want to be part of every breakdown, every shocking moment, every time we dissect what makes this business beautiful, hit that subscribe button right now. Turn on notifications because you don't want to miss what's coming. Comment below and tell me your thoughts as we go through this together. And share this video with every wrestling fan you know because trust me, they need to see this. Now let's get into it. Raw opened with tension so thick you could cut it with a steel chair. The arena lights dimmed, and that familiar sound hit. The King of Kings. The Cerebral Assassin. But this wasn't the Triple H we've seen dominating WrestleMania or standing victorious with that sledgehammer. This was different. You could see it in his eyes as he walked down that ramp. This was Paul Levesque, the man behind the character, carrying the weight of a decision that was eating him alive. The crowd didn't know whether to cheer or boo. There was confusion in the air, mixed with anticipation. Because when Triple H shows up unannounced, when he's got that look on his face, something monumental is about to happen. He grabbed a microphone, and for a moment, he just stood there, breathing, thinking, the entire WWE universe holding its breath with him. He started talking about legacy, about what it means to be a champion in this company. His voice was steady but you could hear something underneath it. Pain, regret, the kind of emotion you can't fake. He talked about his own journey, about the nights he fought through torn quads and broken bodies because the championship meant everything, because being the best meant sacrifice. And then he said it. The words that made my blood run cold. Sometimes being in charge means making choices that break your heart. The camera cut to backstage. Our world champion was watching on a monitor, and you could see the concern spreading across their face. Something was wrong. Something was very, very wrong. The murmurs in the crowd started growing louder. People were pulling out their phones. Twitter was exploding. What was happening? What was Triple H building toward? He continued, talking about responsibility. About how being a champion isn't just about wins and losses. It's about representing the company, the fans, the legacy of everyone who came before. And then he paused again. That pause felt like an eternity. The entire arena, millions watching at home, everyone just waiting for the bomb to drop. And then he said the name. Our world champion. The person who had fought through hell to get that title. Who had main event pay-per-views, who had given everything to this business. Triple H said their name, and the crowd erupted. Not in cheers. In shock. In disbelief. Because the way he said it, you knew something terrible was coming. He talked about recent events. About controversial decisions made outside the ring. About conduct that didn't align with what WWE stands for. The details were vague, but they didn't need to be specific. You could feel where this was going. The camera kept cutting backstage where our champion was now surrounded by officials. Their face showed confusion, then anger, then something worse, fear. Triple H's voice cracked. Just slightly, but enough to notice. This wasn't a power play. This wasn't corporate politics. This was a man who had to choose between his personal feelings and what he believed was right for the business he's dedicated his life to building. He talked about phone calls he didn't want to make. Meetings that left him staring at the ceiling at 3 a.m, knowing that no matter what decision he made, somebody was going to get hurt. The crowd was split now. Some were chanting the champion's name in support. Others were silent, processing what this meant. Championship reigns come and go, but this felt different. This felt personal. This felt real in a way that scripted storylines rarely do. And that's when Triple H looked directly into the camera. Not at the crowd. Not at the hard camera for a dramatic shot. But into the lens like he was speaking to one specific person backstage. I'm sorry. 2 words. That's all it took. The arena exploded. People were on their feet. Some were booing. Some were crying. Because everyone knew what those words meant. Our champion was about to lose everything they'd worked for. Not in a match. Not in a fair fight. But because of a decision made in an office. The most devastating loss of all. Hold on, we need to pause for just a second because I need you to understand something. What you're watching right now, what we're breaking down together, this is why wrestling matters. This is why we do this every single week here at SLAMZONE. These moments that blur the line between storyline and reality. These emotions that hit you right in the chest and remind you why you fell in love with this crazy business in the first place. If you haven't already, smash that like button right now. Subscribe to the channel. Join this family. Because we've got so much more coming, and you're going to want to be here for every second. Comment below and tell me how you're feeling about this. Are you with Triple H? Are you standing with the champion? Let's build this conversation together. Now let's get back to the action because it's about to get even more intense. Our champion stormed through the backstage area. Cameras were following, trying to keep up as they pushed past producers and officials. You could hear the emotion in their voice. The anger. The betrayal. They'd given everything to this company. Blood, sweat, tears, injuries that would affect them for the rest of their life. And now, in one moment, it was all being taken away. They burst through the curtain and onto the stage. The crowd's reaction was deafening. Triple H was still in the ring, microphone lowered, waiting. This confrontation was happening whether he wanted it or not. Our champion grabbed a mic from a crew member and the words that came out, raw, unscripted. The kind of promo that reminds you why certain people become champions in the first place. They talked about the night sleeping in their car to afford training, about the independent shows where 15 people showed up and they wrestled anyway, about broken promises from other companies and finally getting their shot in WWE, about winning the championship and feeling like every sacrifice had been worth it. Their voice was shaking, not from nerves, from pure emotion. Triple H stood there and took it, every word, every accusation, every painful memory, and you could see it affecting him. His jaw was tight. His eyes were focused on the mat. This wasn't a heel reveling in power. This was a man drowning in the consequences of his own decision. The crowd didn't know who to support anymore. Both people in this situation were victims of circumstance, of business, of the cold reality that sometimes wrestling isn't about who's the best in the ring. Our champion demanded answers. Real answers. Not corporate speak or legal jargon. They wanted to know why. After everything they'd done, everything they'd proven, why was this happening? And Triple H, he tried to explain. He talked about the bigger picture. About sponsors and media obligations and standards that have to be maintained. But even as the words came out, you could tell he didn't fully believe them himself. That's when our champion did something nobody expected. They took off the championship belt, held it high above their heads so everyone in that arena, everyone watching around the world could see it. The symbol of excellence. The proof of their hard work. And they looked Triple H dead in the eye and said words that I'll never forget. You might be able to take this from me, but you can never take what I did to earn it. The crowd went absolutely ballistic, chanting the champion's name. Signs were waving everywhere. People were standing on chairs. This was a moment. A real, genuine moment that transcends booking and storylines. This was a performer standing up for their legacy, their worth, their place in history. And Triple H, you could see him struggling, really struggling with what came next. He raised the microphone, started to speak, stopped, started again. The vulnerability was staggering. Here was a man who'd been one of the most dominant forces in wrestling history, who'd intimidated legends and destroyed careers, and he looked broken. He talked about being a father, about how he'd want someone to fight for his daughters the way our champion was fighting right now, about respecting that fire even when it complicated everything. And then came the swerve nobody saw coming. Triple H made his announcement, but it wasn't what anyone expected. He wasn't stripping the championship. Not exactly. Instead, he was implementing something unprecedented in WWE history, a mandatory 30-day review period. The champion would keep the belt, but they'd have to prove themselves all over again, face challengers every single week. No excuses, no protection, no guarantees. If they could survive 30 days of hell, the controversy would be dropped. If they lost even once, it was over. The champion's face showed a mix of relief and determination. They'd been given a chance. A brutal, nearly impossible chance, but a chance nonetheless. They nodded slowly, accepting the terms. And then they did something that gave me chills. They walked right up to Triple H, inches from his face, and extended their hand. Not in friendship, in acknowledgement. This was war, but it was war with rules. War with respect. Triple H looked at that hand for a long moment. The crowd was going insane. The tension was suffocating. And then he shook it. Firm. Strong. And as he did, he leaned in and whispered something the microphones barely picked up. Our champion's expression changed. Whatever was said, it hit deep. They pulled back, raised the championship one more time, and walked out of that ring with their head high. As Raw went to commercial, the implications started sinking in. 30 days. 4 to 5 matches against top contenders. Our champion's career hanging by a thread. Triple H standing in that ring alone, looking like a man who just made a deal with the devil. The commentary team was speechless. The WWE universe was in chaos. Social media was melting down, because nobody knew what was going to happen next. And that's exactly how the best wrestling should feel. This is why we do this. This is why wrestling will never die. Because when it's done right, when the emotion is real and the stakes feel genuine, there's nothing else like it in entertainment. Triple H made a decision that broke hearts, including his own. Our champion accepted a challenge that might end their reign before it really begins. And we all get to watch it unfold week by week, moment by moment. Before you go, I need you to do something for me. For us. For this incredible community we're building. Hit that like button and let me know this breakdown hit you the way it hit me. Subscribe to SLAMZONE if you haven't already, because we're covering every single moment of this 30-day journey. Every match, every near fall, every twist that's coming. Comment below and tell me your predictions. Can our champions survive? Should they have to? Is Triple H right or wrong? I want to hear from every single one of you. Share this video with your friends who need to understand what happened on Raw. And turn those notifications on, because when the next chapter of this story drops, you're going to want to be first in line. This is SLAMZONE. This is our family. And together, we're going to witness something special. Whether it ends in triumph or tragedy, we'll be here for every second. Until next time, keep the passion alive, keep fighting for what you believe in, and never forget, in wrestling, just like in life, the greatest stories are the ones that break our hearts before they heal them. See you in the next one.